Welcome to Business is Unusual. I'm John Payne, and this is now being filmed and recorded at the Noisy Little Monkey office rather than live. Welcome to the first one. It's a bit of an experiment. We'll see how we get on. Thankfully, joining me, we have one of my very good friends whose name I couldn't get right for at least 4 takes of this. It's Rin Hamburgh.
And not handbags.
Not handbags, which is what I've said at least 3 times. Welcome, Rin.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming along.
I'll talk to you now.
Yeah, talk to me, don't talk. I mean, you can talk to them, but...
And potentially camera 2, depending if that works as well.
Yeah, let's do that. So, Rin, you're here and we're going to be talking about content and thought leadership, particularly in terms of content. But before we get on to that, tell us about Rin Hamburgh Co. Okay. What does that do and why is it there?
It is there for the purpose of writing words. So Rin Hamburgh Co is a copywriting agency. When we started, we were more of just a general copywriting agency, mostly because I didn't really know what I was doing. I've never worked in an agency. I've never worked client side. I was a journalist and went, I know, I'll start an agency. That sounds like a good idea because I was very naive and had no idea. And then over the last 5 or 6 years, as we've kind of grown and changed and sort of like worked with more and more clients, we've realised that we have particular skills, which I think kind of started off with my journalism background, in helping expert-led businesses, which is businesses that they may be selling a product or a service, but they're really selling their knowledge, their experience, their kind of understanding of a subject. And we help those people to do 2 things. One is to clarify and communicate their message. So it's essentially kind of working out their value proposition and kind of articulating that in a way that makes sense. And if you work in tech or data science or something like that, that can be quite difficult to do. And then from there, we do essentially their content. But really what we're doing is to help them establish their authority. So they've got this expertise. People don't know necessarily they have this expertise. How are they going to find out unless they work with them? Well, we create the content and then they're getting that taster of that expertise. Brilliant,
because that's the nub of what we're going to get into. Yeah. Fantastic. But so, why did you start it?
I mean, like partly necessity.
Right.
I was like too busy as a freelancer and I thought, hey, I'll get somebody else to help me with a bit. And then it turned into an agency and I didn't really kind of expect it. I think, my vision for the business grew as the business grew. And I think sometimes it does take a little while to find your purpose. But again, over the last 5 or 6 years, as we've done more and more of it, I've suddenly realized that I'm just really passionate about using words to achieve results in whatever way that is. Like, words are the foundation for everything we do. And they're a way of articulating ideas. Because if you think, most of us, we have lots of stuff in our head, thoughts and feelings and ideas and knowledge, and explaining that, putting that into words is actually quite tricky. A good example of this is, I don't know if you ever play any board games, but if you've ever tried to explain to somebody who hasn't played a fairly complex board game, explain to them how to do it, you start talking, you start going, okay, well, so you have this player here and you don't, you start talking, you go, actually I need to tell you about this other bit first. That's a bit complicated because that only works then.
Yeah, that's a really good way.
It's really hard, right? Even though it's an easy subject because you know the subject matter yourself, getting that into words. So writing instructions for board games, I swear, is like a whole career in itself. And that's what we do. And that's, to me, is what I'm really passionate about. And that in turn helps to our company vision is about helping individuals and businesses achieve their dreams using the power of words. And the businesses obviously are, it could be a startup founder who's like, I've got this idea and I want to go somewhere and let's, articulate their value proposition. It could be, a CMO in a much bigger company who's, expanding into a new market, and that's their kind of dream. And then also from the people side, it's my team and the individuals that work with me. And because I started my business in very unusual circumstances, I was a single mum. I had 9-month-old twins the day that the website went live, which was kind of mental. I really care about, work-life balance, but, not going insane. And actually managing to earn enough money to live whilst also living so that, it actually all works. And I want that for my team as well. So, several of us are part-time and it's just a very flexible sort of way of working. We're very, bring your whole self to work. And I really love that. I know that that's more of an internal thing, but it makes me happy every time I see my team flourishing. That's really good.
That's really good. How old are your twins now?
They are 6.5.
6.5. I waited for you to give the second age then, because I'm an idiot. Oh, and
also 6.5 and 10 extra minutes.
Wow. That is it. I mean, that's something that I'm always amazed, or every time I see you, I'm reminded that you started a business with baby twins, effectively, and were single at the time. That's just insane. And you launched a website as well at the same time as all of that.
The brand and the website and everything, you know.
I mean, most people just lose their minds launching a website.
I know, I'm going through this. We've got a new one coming out in 2 weeks. It's currently a bit like, oh God, we're going to be seeing sort of final designs that's being tested at the moment.
You've gone up the hierarchy of needs enough that actually the website becomes a real crisis.
Yeah.
Whereas before, everything was, it's all fine, I got this.
Yeah, do you know what? I think, and that's the really interesting thing, you know, it was an absolutely mental time. But I think that whatever circumstances you start a business in, it's always a bit mental. If you've not done it before, probably even if you have, to be fair, starting a business is mad, and there's loads of stuff that you do know how to do, but probably running a business isn't one of them. You just know the thing that your business does. So I knew how to write, I knew how to work with my clients. That bit was easy. But then, you know, as you start like taking on people, and then you have to manage a team, and then you're like, oh my God, how do I do that? And so it's been a good learning experience though. And I love learning. That is, you know, that's something I'm really passionate about. So
I think anybody who's in our kind of vein, in this marketing vein where there's a little bit of consultancy, or if you're a marketing manager or you're working in-house, if you're not fascinated and interested by other people and their passions, you can't do this well. You can do an average job, or you might be able to do a great job, but you're never going to be that fulfilled because you are just kind of cranking the handle. But if you find the stuff that your clients sell, or the way they help other businesses or their customers interesting, and you get enthused by their enthusiasm, it's that's the reason I do it too.
You have to love it, because if you don't, then it's just kind of going to be difficult, and you're not going to enjoy it, and then you're going to stop.
Might as well get a proper job.
Yeah, yes, quite. I was talking to our head of client experience, Rosie, this morning, and we've got a client that does, I have to get this right, mobile as a service? No, do you know what? It's
something as a service.
It's mobility as a service, that's it. So it's basically looking at joining up the process of transport. So like, rather than, you know, you go on a bus and you've got one ticket, and then you've got like a train and you've got another ticket, and you get a cab. It's like somehow joining this all up. I'm not very knowledgeable about it because it's not my client. But she was talking about it and going, but then it's really fascinating. It's really interesting because you can do this. And you could see she was getting really animated about it. And it's like, it may not on paper look like an interesting subject, but actually as soon as you start to dig under the surface of anything, it is quite interesting. If you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's something that people tend to seem to misunderstand about content and content marketing?
I would say it's less about misunderstanding and just not having a big enough understanding. I think people sort of say, oh, there's this type of marketing, that type of marketing, and there's content marketing. They sort of just lump everything together. But I think it's not really until you start doing it that you start appreciating the kind of the level of depth and breadth that actually is within that. I mean, for a start, what do you mean by content? Do you mean written content? Do you mean audio content? Do you mean video content? Do you mean graphic content? Where is that content going out? Is it short bite-sized stuff that's on social media? Is it the really big chunky stuff that you're using as a download, as gated, and it's, you know, this big research white paper that you might spend months and thousands of pounds on? There's such a broad range of it. And even if you take, you know, blogging, which is something that's like one of our kind of cornerstone services, within blogging, we have, I'd say, 4 or 5 different types of blogging that we do with our clients. And then within that, we're like, okay, but what about the different types of blog post within this? So, you know, looking at blogging sort of from a sales perspective, you know, you've got all the different stages of the funnel, and the blog has to be achieving different things at different parts of that. So there's a lot more thinking that goes into it. Oh, the other thing, and this is a pet peeve, is like, everyone can write content, which makes me crazy. Oh, I must as well. I'll share the link with you after. There's a really, really good blog post. It's by, I think, a lady called Claire Barry, and it's on Medium, and it's called Everyone Can Write Copy, right? Or Everyone's a Copywriter. And it's so funny because it's like the most beautifully written, super sarcastic, like it's just brilliant. It goes into that thing of going, yes, everyone potentially could, if you can write, you could write content, but actually there's so much more than the writing. And I think that's the thing that's really interesting. When we use our freelancers, by the time a brief goes to a freelancer, we've done 75% of the work, because we've done the thinking and the strategizing. We've spoken to the experts. We've got their thoughts out of their heads, and we've organized their thoughts into a brief. And by the time we've done, I mean, that's the majority. Of course, you need the right words after. I mean, how the strapline is, you don't need many words, just the right ones.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the right thinking behind the writing, then the writing is always going to fall flat, no matter what.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it's true of it's true of everything. Anybody could do anything. When I see people say, like in what we do a bit more, when they're saying, well, anybody could just crack together these workflows in HubSpot. Yeah. If you've got a computer and you've got HubSpot, of course you can.
Yeah.
But it's having the willingness to delve into actually what's going to benefit the client and what's going to benefit their customer more likely. And in your case, exactly the same. We can all crack out some old crap, but
also like what you were saying about HubSpot. Like, so we use HubSpot on the free version, very basic and stuff like that, because it's amazing but expensive.
Which is why you should buy it from me.
Which is why I should buy it for you, and will do one day when our profitability goes up, for sure. But the thing is, it's not just about, I could do it. It's like, I could do a gazillion different things. If you think about the options available to us, the things we could be doing in our business, there's way more than, that's why we need teams, right? Because there are too many things to do. I didn't start hiring, well, that's not true actually. I did start hiring people because there were things I couldn't do. But actually, my first sort of 2 or 3 hires were things I could do, but I didn't have time to do anymore. And I was like, where is my time better spent? And I think that's the thing. So, yes, somebody could go and they could teach themselves HubSpot, or they could do a course, or but that's what you spent how many years doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I think
same with content.
Yeah. So for us, if I think about it, as a freelancer, I could only deal with X amount of clients. And so my learning was limited to the amount of hours I had. Now I'm learning from all of the work we're doing with all the account managers, all the writers. I'm learning from all of those. So my learning is exponentially increased, which means, yes, I am an expert, not because I'm better than anybody or because I'm cleverer than anyone. I'm really not. I'm actually very bad at spelling. This is one thing that people pull me up on. They're like, you spelled something wrong. I'm like, and that doesn't matter. Spelling is not what copywriting is about. Sometimes deliberately misspelling is what copywriting is about. But anyway, it's like, it's not so much about I'm better or I'm clever or I'm any of those things. It's just that I've had more opportunity to stare very hard at copy.
Yeah.
What's the thing about 10,000 hours makes you an expert sort of thing? I've had hundreds of thousands of hours, and that's to me what it is. Just a slog.
Yeah. Experience does count for something.
For sure.
Thinking about experience, so when you perhaps lacked experience in copy, what were you doing before you were running the business? You were a freelance copywriter, obviously. And what got you into that?
Happy accident. I was a journalist. I actually did a business degree at university. And then in my final year, because I did business with Japanese, which was really fun. I got to live in Japan for a year, which was ace.
That's awesome. Where in Japan?
Cool. In Kyoto.
Oh, nice.
Great. And I still feel weird saying Kyoto, because obviously when I lived there, it's Kyoto.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I was like, I can't say that because I'm going to sound like an idiot.
Yeah, you sound like someone who orders a croissant.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's an episode of Friends where Ross learns karate. And that is how you say it, but also you sound like a Muppet. So don't do that. So lived in Kyoto for a year, which was great. Went to university there. But then when I came back, because all my friends had done 3-year degrees and I was on a 4-year degree, I had a year of going, I'm sad and by myself. What should I do? So I started writing for the university magazine. And I think up until then I'd seen journalism as reporters shoving microphones in people's faces, which is not me at all. But then features writing was great because it was slower, it was more thoughtful, it was more educational. And bear in mind, this was many years ago, before really there was an awful lot of internet out there. So then I went and did a journalism postgrad and kind of went into that, worked in a newspaper for 5 years. And then I went freelance. And again, I was going to be a freelance journalist. But increasingly, I started then getting requests from people to do what I now know to be copy.
Yeah.
Not copyright. So this is the thing again about copywriting. People think copywriting is one thing. You can be a copywriter who writes tender documents. You can be a copywriter who writes billboard advertising copy. You know, there's lots of different things. But in terms of the content side of things, suddenly my skills as a journalist were being demanded more and more by businesses, and website copy. So website copy and blog posts, which are the two things we do, that's where I cut my teeth as a copywriter. So I mean, I remember there was some app that a company was developing. It was a few years, I can't remember how long ago, it was a long time ago. And because I used to write for Psychology's magazine, and this app was all about happiness, it was like, 365 tips on being happy, so every day you got another tip. The editor at Psychology's recommended me, and I ended up doing this job where I wrote 365 pieces of 50-word copy with tips on how to be happier.
Right.
It was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed doing it. And to me, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I'm doing copywriting. I was like, yeah, just writing. Could write about one thing, write about another. And yes, it kind of went from there. And so I just doing more and more and more. And yeah.
So when you were starting to write those first few websites and all those web pages and then blog posts and all of that kind of stuff, if you had one tip to go back or one thing that you could say to young Rin as she was figuring that out, what would you say to her?
Oh, there's so many things. Most of them not appropriate to share. Do you know what? It would be really easy to say, do it this way, do it that way, all the rest of it. But actually, I'm definitely a person that learns by experience. And I think sometimes the best lessons you learn are the lessons that you learn when you do something wrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of glad for all the mistakes I made. But I guess I would probably tell myself to be more confident, because I think it's taken me even until probably the last year or two to really feel like, oh, I'm maybe doing this okay. Maybe I am running an agency. It's like, yeah, but it's just that I don't like the word imposter syndrome. I don't this bandied about too much, but just that fear of, am I doing it like everyone else? And I think this whole thing of not coming from either agency or client side experience, I don't know what it's meant to look like. So I'm sort of making it up. But actually, what I've realized is that is a huge benefit, because I can just apply logic and go, well, why is everyone doing it like that? That seems really stupid. Let's do it like this.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things about the way that Rin Hamburgh Co works that are different to other agencies, but I think it kind of works well for that reason.
And that thing about being confident when you're doing that stuff is particularly for people who are listening to this or watching this and they're in house. As someone who has in the past gone to an in-house person, right? This is what I need. I know it would be much quicker if they just went, right, I don't care how bad this is going to be. Yeah. I'm just going to do it and submit a first draft, because it just gets you going. And suddenly, as you say, you've learnt loads, and they'll be full of mistakes. And if you're new to an agency, you're going to write stuff in the wrong tone of voice for different people, but at least you'll learn really quick by just getting in there and embracing failure, which is something I have to do an awful lot.
Yeah, me too. I think I'd also say that everyone's making it up.
Yeah.
There's so many people who've learnt to talk the talk, and no, don't get me wrong, also walk the walk, that they are doing good work. I'm not saying that everyone's a complete muppet, but at the same time, most people have that same degree of so it's the comparing somebody's outside to your inside. Everyone on the outside seems really shiny and polished and like they know what they're talking about, and inside I'm sitting there going, I'm pretty sure I can do the job, but I'm not really sure. And it's the same thing. They're probably sitting there having a very similar feeling. But to be fair, if they're not, they might be missing something. So actually,
definitely something wrong. Definitely don't believe everything that people tell you on Instagram and Twitter. They're just. I enjoy Twitter quite a lot, but I've been doing this for ages. We make okay money, and I've got a really happy life. And I still look at people on Twitter and go, oh, my business hasn't grown by 5,000% in the last 2 months. What am I doing wrong? That's that little voice that So we all get it, don't we?
We entered an award recently, and I was looking at the entry that we wrote, and it was talking about business growth. And so we put all the evidence of business growth, but I also wrote in there, but we're not really just going for growth for the sake of it. I possibly could dial it up, but I don't necessarily want to. I want to do good work.
Yeah, of course. I say of course. So few people actually want to do good work. So what do people misunderstand about thought leadership in particular? How could we do that better?
Well, I think it sort of goes back to what I was saying about thinking and writing. You can't hire a copywriter and expect them to create miracles. That's not possible. If you just, if we're writing SEO copy and it's just a case of hitting the keywords, getting better than what's out there, having it being articulate and helpful, all the rest of it, great. We can go and see what's already out there, couple together the best bits, make it better. That's good. If it's got to be thought leadership, it's got to be, I said unique. I don't think it has to be unique, but you have to at least put your spin on something. So there has to be a degree of, why are you writing about this? What's your take? What's your voice? What's your experience that you can bring to the table? And, sometimes people will say, well, we're in crypto. Have you written about crypto before? And I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Because if I've written about crypto before, all you're getting is, okay, yes, I'm going to understand what you're talking about more quickly. So there's, but actually, if you're intelligent enough, you can pick up on any subject well enough. But if I've written lots about crypto before, then all that means is I'm going to churn the same stuff as I've been writing for all the other people that I've been writing for, right? To make your copy different, I need to get what's in your brain. That's the whole point about thought leadership, right? So from the client side, you've got to have that commitment to hiring a copywriter doesn't mean I don't have to do anything. You do. You have to think and you have to bring your thoughts. Now, the copywriter's job, or in our case, it's the account manager's job, is to pull those thoughts out. So I don't expect for our clients to show up and go, I have a fully formed structure for this blog post, because that's our job, right? But they have to have gone, okay, I've thought about this particular subject and I have a couple of things I'd like to say. And then if I'm asked a question and I don't know the answer, I can ponder it and I can, I came up with an analogy the other day it's about knitting, so it's not very cool. But, okay, if you look at a jumper and you look at a pile of yarn, they are fundamentally the same thing. Only one is useful and one isn't, right? So what we do is we kind of take the yarn from our client's head and then we knit it. We put order into it. We make it into something useful. And the problem is that sometimes the client will arrive and go, knit me a jumper. And you're like, cool, where's the yarn? And they're like, will this do? And they give you a bit of string and you're like, I can't do anything with that. So I think this
not
is
when it's
thing.
that short.
Exactly. Or it's just really crap. Or you're giving me really poor quality yarn and then you're expecting me to knit like a cashmere jumper. That can't happen. Like I said, it depends on the type of coffee is good too. The type of copy, but thought leadership particularly, that one where you're really trying to establish your expertise, establish your authority, get that credibility, that has to come from your subject matter experts. And if they're not willing to put the input in, then you can't blame your copywriter for good things not coming out.
Is there so
I feel like I've got that off my chest now.
That's really good.
Sorry, I just bashed the microphone.
We can take it out in the edit. I'll ask the producer to do it. Man, that made me sound like a wanker. I'm the producer. And the editor.
Now I really want you to say, I'm Batman.
I'm not
no, we're going off track.
Yeah, which we've been doing quite a lot. But it's okay, because I keep looking at my watch on the surreptitious. And my heart rate's high, but the time is fine. My heart rate's always high. Look at the side. Look at the colour of my head. So what's a good way to encourage that thought? Because most people who are going to be watching this, typically from what I remember, are going to be in-house, and copywriting isn't going to be their full job, but it's going to be some of it. And I know damn well that their boss keeps saying to them, I want to be a thought leader on LinkedIn. How do I get from boss saying, I want to be a thought leader on LinkedIn, to getting that person to give me some yarn and an idea of the sort of jumper they'd like?
So I would say you definitely need to start off, it sounds really basic, with some strategy. It's not like, I want to be a thought leader. Okay, what does that mean? What results are you trying to get? Because thought leadership is very much around brand awareness and kind of raising the game, raising reputation. It's very much harder to measure then, because it's not like converting leads. It's much more difficult. It's also a long game. So from the research I've done, most people say between 9 and 18 months for getting the results. And it does give you results, but it's also not results you can necessarily point to on a chart. It's much more like you show up in a networking event and everybody knows you. That it's more that sort of vibe. So I think there's got to be a strategy. You've got to set expectations with that boss and kind of go, okay, well, this is what we're looking to do. We need to commit to this. exactly what I was saying before about you need to bring your thoughts. And I'm genuinely not just saying this because I think that people should hire copywriting agencies, but honestly, getting an outsider in is really, really helpful. You know how kids don't listen to parents, but they listen to, like, I don't know, aunties or your best mate or whatever?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. And I can't even count the number of conversations I've had with marketers, like heads of marketing managers, and they're like, we can't get the subject matter experts to talk to us. They just don't want to talk, or they don't know how to, you know, especially if they're, I don't know, developers, people that are like, you know, on the disc profile, they're high C, they're blues, they don't like talking to people. With those people, we always give them a pre-brief, and then they know what they're talking about, so they come prepared because they've had chance to do it. Because there's some people that just don't like, you know, answer a question, and they're like, oh, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, I need to think about all of the different implications on these answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, you know, understanding the people you're going to be talking to, knowing how to get the best from them. And the thing is, again, that's a hard thing to do. You know, we in every briefing we always have like an account manager and a writer, or you know, editor. So we've got the kind of two skills coming together, because they are two very different skills. You know, I had to do both as a journalist, so that's a, you know, a particular kind of combination of skills. But yeah, it's, in terms of if you have to do it in-house and you can't get any support with it, I would say just make a start, like try and show, especially if your boss is like, I want to be a thought leader, and you're like, I don't know that you've got the thoughts, then just try one thing, ask all the questions, be really prepared with the questions. This is another thing I think is really important. The more specific questions, like really, really tight, like a combination of open and closed questions.
Okay.
Closed questions are great. People think closed questions are bad, but they're not.
I thought they were evil.
No. Sometimes you want people to talk.
Yeah.
Some people you really want to stop them talking because they ramble, so that's the tricky one as well. But closed questions can help you to clarify a factual point.
Right, of course.
And kind of go, so do you mean this? Or so how many whatever, you know? Or what specific thing should people be doing at that point, and kind of get, like, really hone in. Because I think this is the other thing, is that people often feel like, oh, we need to talk very broadly, but actually with blogging, I think really, with thought leadership, whether you're doing it in this context or whatever, you need to get really specific. There's so much fluff out there. There's so much content. This is the problem.
Yeah.
And to get heard and to get, you know, to stand out above the crowd, you really need to say something. You need to have something to say. And if you've only got a small thing to say, that's fine. Make it into a LinkedIn post, but don't write a whole 1,000-word blog post about it.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's quite good. That's, so we're going and we're thinking about the questions we're going to ask, maybe sending them a pre-brief if they're super scientific, engineering type people.
Or if you think they're going to ramble.
Yeah, and having a selection of open and closed questions. Yeah. And I guess, I mean, I'd be tempted, like, if it was me and I was in-house, I'd be tempted to practice asking the questions with that subject matter expert, because they typically are either super busy or don't want to be a part of it. Yeah. So I'd be tempted to rehearse that with a significant other. Just so that the questions feel like they're going to easly come out. Says a bloke who set this up in 10 minutes. So then we giggled for the first 15.
I think you and I, we did. Oh my God, that was so much fun. I think you and I are we're very people-y, extrovert.
Yeah.
We think, actually, I'm better off if I don't prepare too much.
Yeah.
I need to have thought a little bit, so I'm not just kind of going and trying to reach for like an example. Because the specifics, if I need a specific example, I probably need to have thought about that beforehand.
Yeah.
But if I were to write notes, I'd end up reading it. So actually, I have to be more spontaneous.
Yeah.
But some people aren't like that, and they need to think.
No. Cool. So could you share with us... Oh, closed question. Look at that. I was asking only open until you said I was allowed to close.
Yes, you are.
Which doesn't mean you can answer it with a no. Could you share with us, like, is there a process that you guys go through when you're sort of talking to a new client and for the first time, not necessarily on boarding process, but like, how would you go about starting up one of those, let's say an SEO blog? Yeah. Like, what would you do to make that happen?
So SEO blogging is slightly different. So I'll talk to you generally about the general kind of blogging approach that we have. So we've created a kind of framework that we use internally. We actually did publish a blog post about it, so it is kind of out there.
Fancy.
Make
sure we put a link to it.
I love it. And it's still developing. I am I say I'm writing a book. I sort of started writing a book, and I need to get back to writing the book. But anyway,
you've been writing a book for as long as I've known you.
It's just it's there. There are there's a framework anyway. So shut up. There's a framework, and it's basically, so the kind of the buyer journey and the problem aware, solution aware, all the rest of it. I always struggled with it. I was like that. It felt a bit reductive. It was a bit, I don't get this, and I don't see how I'm going to apply it to writing blog posts. So we sort of slightly adapted it, and we were looking at how people are feeling, but essentially their search intent. What is it that they want? What are they looking for at each moment? And how can we create content that solves their need?
Yeah.
So if somebody is, as we call it, stage 1, in the dark, they literally don't know they have a problem. So then not looking for anything. So you've got to be much more clever about how you attract their interest.
Yeah.
And you've got to, whether it's gently or violently, explain to them that they have a problem. They are heading for some issue. So say somebody's, I don't know, they're about to start a new website process, and they haven't realized that you can't just call a copywriter. Oh, this is another pet peeve. You can't just call a copywriter going, we're doing a website and we've got all the development stuff done and the pages are ready and the designs and the wireframes and everything, and so the developer wants the copy in the next 2 weeks, and you're like, dude, no, don't do that. So if somebody is unaware that they have a problem, i.e. they're heading for, I can't get my copy in time, you can write an article around 5 things to think about before you start a website project. I mean, that's a terrible example, but it's but
it works because it's not them going, oh, my copy's late. It catches them earlier in the process, so that we can turn the light on a little bit for them in the dark.
And then you go through to stuck. So people have a problem and they've got a problem, they don't really know what to do, so you are helping to introduce the idea of solutions. Then they're searching, so they're okay, I've got a bit of an idea of solutions, so now I need to maybe refine that a little bit more, through to the next one, which is around almost ready. So when people are almost ready, they've pretty much decided, right, I want to do content marketing, cool. I've decided that actually blogging is what I really want to do, great. I've decided actually I'd like to outsource. So now I'm almost ready. I'm just kind of deciding, do we use Rin Hamburgh Co or somebody else? And so that's where you have much more sales heavy copy. That's when you can start doing lead generation. Because I think there's this weird thing of like, is blogging lead generation or not? Is it brand awareness? I think it can be both. Mm-hmm. So at that stage, you can be like, when we used to do a level up your business blog course, so we ran some training around it, and we wrote a blog post, everything you need to know about the level up your business blog course. Now, people are not necessarily going to be Googling and finding this. It's going to be read by a smaller amount of people, but also it can be used by the sales team to proactively send out. You see somebody at a networking event, you're chatting to them, oh, I'd love to do some blogging training. Oh yeah, I'll send you, and then you've got something to send. So it almost becomes a version of a brochure, and it's there. And then there's all the stuff that you can do for your clients already, how to prepare for a briefing with your copywriter. Now, obviously, other people can read that. Yeah. It's useful for your clients. They're like, oh, I'm still getting value. And then there's the more general one. So thought leadership goes into the more general. It can appeal to people at any stage of their journey. And potentially more importantly, it can appeal to referral partners. And that is really, really helpful. Like for us, we get a lot of business from other agencies, other marketers, people up and down the food chain from us. So, web designers who are going, flipping heck, they won't give me the copy. They said that they said that they were going to give me a month ago. Yeah. They'll refer us. Designers, again, they're doing branding. They need brand voice. And those people are the ones who are reading this marketing thought leadership. Yeah. Our clients might not be that interested, but it doesn't matter because the people who are going to be bringing the business to us, they're reading that. So it's just, that's, the very first question you asked me about what do people kind of misunderstand about content. It's the detail. It's just how much there is to know about it. I'm such a geek about it. I love it. I absolutely love that when you start to look at it, you just see more and more and more patterns. Yeah. Ooh, it's like the Matrix. I just see the whole world in like letters and numbers.
And different uses of content. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, I think, man, I so agree. Actually, 2 things. One on your pet peeve. We had a client, I won't name them because we have signed an incredibly tight NDA with them. Nice. They insisted that they needed to launch on a Monday, and we had a 3-month process up to that Monday, during which Tash, our creative director, had asked them every week since we started, where's the copy? Because we can start putting this in for you as we build. If we've built the website, it's you putting the copy in, and we'll train you on how to do it. But I need to see that copy. They kept pushing it back. The Friday before the Monday, they said, can we have a quote for you to write the copy? Oh my God. And we just pulled a crazy number out the air, like, yeah, if we're going to work all weekend, we'll do it drunk and we'll do it for 50 grand.
Yeah.
And of course they said no.
Yeah.
But it was like, well, we're going to ruin everybody's weekend and we're going to probably have to call you and say, look, there's loads of booze in.
Yeah.
We're writing about stuff we don't really understand. Yeah.
Oh my God, I would love that. Ooh, now I feel like there's some kind of like endurance copywriting challenge where we can try and like sponsor it. Could be a charity thing. Like, can we write copy for like 24 hours straight whilst drinking kind of combination energy drinks and like booze, and then just see what happens?
Tequila and Red Bull, sorted.
I can't drink tequila. I will throw up.
All right, tequila and vodka then.
No,
then you just mix those two all day. You've got energy and creativity, because you know how creative people are on vodka. Yeah, exactly. I think that would probably be a terrible idea as well. Although the younger me would have gone for that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still really tempted.
We could do that for like, we could go. Can we develop a brand, the website, the copy, and the social media stuff?
How quickly can we do it? Interestingly, I did
in 24 hours.
We worked with an agency in London on, again, a very tight turnaround, and we managed to write. Now it was a micro site, so it didn't have loads of pages, for Pot Noodle.
Right.
And we managed to do that in 24 hours. It was me and another writer. We did that in 24 hours.
That's not bad, given that it takes 3 minutes to make a pot noodle, I suppose.
Yes.
It's apt that
good.
you could smash it out.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah, feels like you just got the structure in and then added a little flavour at the end and then gave it a mix. Lovely. So before we go, what's the one thing that you would like to leave our little gang of marketers and salespeople who watch this with?
That's the one thing I couldn't think of an answer for. But I have thought of an answer for it now.
God, thank God, otherwise this would have been a waste of time.
I know. The whole thing would have been completely useless. No, I sort of just want to say that marketers are amazing, and there is a lot of pressure on marketers and a lot of like disregard. I think people kind of go, marketing, it's the fluffy stuff, it's the easy stuff, and it's bloody difficult, and it is changing every 5 minutes. Even if you are just, I'm just working with TikTok. That's it. I'm just doing that. It changes every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Now imagine you're doing social media. Now you've got all the platforms, and they're all changing every day.
Yeah.
And you have to be a copywriter and a designer and a videographer, and it's like, and then you've got to do the analytics. You've got to be a numbers person. So hang on, you've got to be a creative person, and now you've got to be a numbers person.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. You've got to be strategic, and you've got to do the doing. Now you've got to manage all your suppliers as well, and a budget. There's so much going on, and I think marketers can be hard on themselves because the creative marketers feel bad because they don't understand analytics, and
they're not getting a chance to be creative enough.
Yes. And the performance marketers are like, but I don't know if I can do the creative. And everyone's sort of looking around thinking everybody else is doing a better job than them. But actually, I don't think it's the generalist specialist thing.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to accept where you are, decide what you love in marketing and do that, and just kind of tell everyone else to F off. I didn't swear. So.
Nice. I think though, it's a recruits market at the moment, job wise. So if you do tell people to F off, there's plenty of people who are going to snap you up to do the specialist thing you really want to do.
It's very true.
Really cool. Love it. I love that we ended getting people to tell their bosses to fuck off.
You did it. I didn't do it.
Well, the swearing. Oh no. Yeah. Well, it's my reputation, isn't it? I've got that to uphold. Rin, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely brilliant fun.
I'll put some links in the show notes. I think I'm going to call them.
Nice.
I mean, it makes me sound like a tosser, doesn't it? But
I really want you to get a clapperboard.
Okay.
I think that would be cool.
All right, I'll get. Okay, you know what? I think I can probably get a cheap one on Amazon.
I think you should.
I'll do that for next time. Thank you so much, and bye everybody. Business is unusual. We're recording it now because, man, I find you lot and your incessant questions on the live version quite difficult to deal with. No, that's not right. The person who's joining me for this grand experiment is Rin Bambergs. Wow. Okay. It's good though.
Should I face that as well? Then you won't be like. Then you won't have me staring.
It's whatever you like, mate. It's whatever you like. Is Rin Hamburgh and Rin Hamburgh.
Please, can we leave that one in? Please, can I be Rin Hamburgh?
Rin Hamburgh.
Oh. It's literally my favourite thing ever. Oh my gosh, now I'm definitely overheated.
I'm sweating like an absolute dog. Okay.
If I do take my jumper off, will I
You're
look
welcome
naked?
to.
I'm not. Okay, no, this is good.
Okay. Welcome to Business as Unusual. I'm going to do it now again because you were laughing.
Okay.
We've got to stop laughing and sweating.
No, I know. I know, this is the thing. You're going to be introducing it. I'm going to be wetting myself here. And people will be watching going...
Everything's going to run out of batteries. And we're just going to be chatting in the dark. Okay.
Okay, wait.
Oh.